Hello, everybody. As you guys know, September is a very special month for actually Janet here. And as such, to make it even more special, instead of her regular vlogs that you guys have been watching, and for sure you have been following her, this time around we'll do like an interview, sort of. It's like you guys listening to us. Think of it as us having coffee and you guys listening to her story from how she started to now finally finding her why. And I'm sure you guys can relate that not all of us will be able to find our why quickly. We've seen it on the platform, probably on books that we are reading, that it's very important that we figure out our why very early on in this life, just so everything that we do is aligned and structured around that framework. But not everybody of us. It has been at that point. So today, in this particular session, I have the honor of doing this interview of Achi. She will share with us what led her to her current disposition now and how she discovered her why. So hello, Achi, how are you?
Hello, TJ. And before you start asking all those questions, let me thank you first for agreeing to join me in this conversation.
Of course.
Thank you.
Okay,
let's get started.
All right. I think my first question to you, actually, I shared this to you guys earlier today. Normally, you'd be doing vlogs instead of you being interviewed.
Yeah.
What led to that decision of you doing it in a different structure for this session?
Well, we thought that a different approach would be a bit more attractive for our followers instead of just listening and always listening to just my voice. And who better to join me in this conversation than you? You know me well enough, even with a short time that we've known each other. We've once a month we talk to each other in our WMC book club. But with a short period that we've known each other, I think I've shared my heart and soul to you already.
Right.
So that's just it. We just wanted to make something different for our viewers and our followers.
If I may share with you guys, the other day on my Facebook memories, it showed there that we've been friends for 2 years on Facebook. And then I told her, actually, has it really been just 2 years? It's like I've known you all my life. And then I told her, I think old people naturally vibe together. Would you guys agree? Anyway, so just to share with you how this relationship started. We're both a member of the WMC community.
Yes.
So we took that course. We're both certified wealth planners. That's how it started. And then actually Janet, she started the book club, of which, one of my interests too. I reached out to her personally if I can join that. And then, as they say, the rest is history. And now, again, I'm given this honor to share it with you, her life. You've heard that, how it all started. Why don't you share with us, actually, Janet, how did you get into this business, or what were you doing prior to you being, in the finance industry?
Okay, so I grew up in a family of business people. So naturally, you get pulled to that kind of industry. So I grew up being trained. And when I say trained, it's not you sitting in an office and you being coached to do office work. I started training when I was still in elementary, probably grade 4, grade 5. And ako yung taga-timpla ng kape. Ako yung taga-bukas ng gate. Ako yung taga-abot ng PO sa bodega. That was where it all started. Because I'm the eldest, naturally as well, my parents expected me to follow in their footsteps, which I did until I got married and my then husband started his own business. It's a manufacturing and wholesaling business. I handled the accounting department because that was my training in my parents' business. And then after over 10 years of marriage, it went down the drain. And a very good friend of mine, Mrs. Josephine Yao, Mrs. Yao passed away 2 years ago during COVID, and she's a very dear friend, and I consider her like a mother to me. When she found out about my marriage, she told me to seriously consider her offer to me of coming into the business of financial advisory services. And she actually has been trying to recruit me for 10 years before I finally, at that time, said yes to her. And then the reason why I said yes was just because I needed some change in my life, because I was going through very troubled times at during that period in my life. And one thing led to another, and I fell in love with this career. I realized that in order for me to help others, I have to help myself first. And the rest is history.
Right. So, is it fair to say that at the beginning, when you were invited, although that took like 10 years before you said yes, is it fair to say that at that time you said yes because you needed change?
Yeah.
You wanted change because of what you were going through at that point in your life. Can you share with us what was that particular change that you were looking for at that time? And how did the financial advisory industry or career showed you that this is really what you can be doing for the rest of your life?
So actually, it was just a different environment.
Okay.
Because I was still going to the office, I was still doing the accounting work in me and my now ex-husband's business, and it was very difficult. Not only emotionally but also mentally.
Right.
And then you go home to the kids, and the kids, they felt that burden that you're going through, that troublesome spirit that you carry with you day in, day out. And I thought, this is something different, and I'm not committing myself to anything long term anyway. She just said, go to the training and see how it works for you, right? And I'm like, sure. The only commitment I'm giving is those few days going through those trainings, and then let's see what happens afterwards. And that was just it. But I guess the reason why I fell deeply in love with a career is because it helped me. Alam nyo, kahit naman anong career na pasukan ko at that time, I would say I would do my best to succeed, because at that time, I needed to put food on the table. I needed to ensure my children that they will continue to go to the school that they've been attending. I need to assure them that regardless of what happened to their parents' lives, they will continue to live comfortably. So that was actually the reason why I stuck with the career early on. But it was connecting with people, right? Colleagues, managers, head office people, eventually clients, that really showed me that, hey, Janet, you can do this. You can make something out of yourself through this very noble career.
Right. I can't imagine what that was like for you during that transition period, if it's safe to say. But the financial advisory industry requires, people interaction. But then at that time that you transitioned, you were going through troublesome times. It must have been so difficult to be dealing with people and trying to form a connection at least. So how did you handle that?
Well, definitely it wasn't a walk in the park. No bed of roses were promised. What they said was, when I was going through the trainings, is that basta masipag ka lang, Janet. You will bear fruit basta may tiyaga at may sipag. It was an on and off thing. I mean, it wasn't smooth sailing. It wasn't like, you hit one big case after another, you close one big business after another. It wasn't like that. It was really a struggle. And to think that I was in the business of doing numbers behind closed doors at that time. I mean, when I was still in the business with my ex-husband, I have a personal assistant, and she was the one who, she's the face of my office. Anytime somebody wants to talk to me, they have to go through her first. The only time that I would have people come into my office to talk to me is during Saturdays when, the suppliers, the big bosses of our suppliers would come to our office to make collections. And because they wanted to see me, because they wanted to have a short chat, then my staff brings them into my office. But other than that, I don't really talk to people.
Okay.
I am really an introvert. How you see me today is the exact opposite of how I was 15, 16, 17, 18 years ago. It was a huge change. And so, it's not as if the minute I came into this business, I knew everything. I also went through a lot of trainings.
Right.
I also went through a lot of talking to colleagues and trying to learn from them, not only here in Sun Life, but also outside of the company and also outside of the Philippines. I'm a very active member of the $1 Million Round Table, and during my very first convention, and this was in 2010 in Vancouver, I met a lot of friends, and I decided that, okay, so this is where I will learn lessons from global friends. So I committed myself to qualifying every year and attending the conferences every year.
Right. So that really, I think everything aligns. You share that you wanted to try this because you wanted change. And the change that happened to you was actually personal transformation, if that's fair to say. It sure is. We don't want, you guys who's wanting to join the financial advisory career to be disillusioned by what you guys see on the platform. It sure is not easy. But as soon as you guys learn to embrace change, to embrace role, it will embrace you back. Now let's talk about that. I think you started slowly embracing the change, embracing the role. But can you share with us what your day is like? What time do you start? What are the habits that led you to to finding your why, or to being this strong already and being this confident, in terms of being in the business for for the long haul, so to speak.
Yeah. So
Do you wake up 4 too?
5. Not as early as you, but still very early. My alarm is always set at 5.
Okay.
And at that time, the kids were still very young, so I have to be up and prepare their lunch, prepare their uniform. Although we do have a house help, but on top of being a businesswoman, I'm also very much a hands-on mom. So I make sure that they're dressed, they have their breakfast, their school bags are ready before sending them off to school. So my day starts very early.
Okay.
And I was so used to doing desk work late through the evening. So at that time, I was still very young, so I can still do that, but not now, not anymore. So that was how my day would start and end. In between would be a mix of a lot of things. Alam niyo, umabot kasi kami sa point na I've decided not to hire any house help because it was very difficult
Right.
to trust somebody whom you will leave at home, and then the kids would be coming home from school and I'm not around, and it's the house help who has to fix their merienda maybe, or make sure that they have dinner. It was just so difficult that after our the house help who stayed with us for like 10 years left us, I just decided not to hire one. So just imagine 4 very young kids, school age, how much laundry that was. How much food do they consume? And of course, they're growing kids. You have to make sure that they eat healthy food. If you ask my kids now, they're all young adults, they would say that, yes, I'm very strict, but not to the point wherein they do not have freedom to move around. There would be weekends that I would tell them, because we used to live inside a subdivision, and so during weekends some of the gates entrances would be closed to the public, and I would tell them to take their bikes or our pet dog and just go out and play. And my last word to them would always be, walang uuwi ng hindi madumi.
Okay.
And
Okay.
they've always, put
That's a
through.
nice house rule.
Yeah. They come home all dirty, all sweaty, So even on weekends, I make sure that they have these healthy activities until, they got into swimming, and weekends, Saturdays would be spent half a day training for swimming, although they never went into competition. They have their other school activities, and if it's extracurricular and they need to be in school on Saturdays, they do that as well. So my schedule at work would sometimes work around their schedule. But that was when I was just starting in the career.
Okay.
It came to a point wherein I knew I had to fill my day up with meetings with clients,
Right.
because, at the end of the day, this is still a business. So if I don't go out and see people, talk to people, present to people, and close businesses with people, I'm not going to bring anything home, right, in
Right.
terms of income. So I would fill up my days, and the kids would be at that time left with a house help. And then when we didn't have house help anymore, they were, the 2 older kids were old enough to take care of the 2 younger kids. So and at the very early age, they were taught to be responsible for themselves and with each other.
It's also very nice there, when I think about it. During that turbulent times, if that's fair to say, you went through personal change, and at the same time, you invited your kids to join in that journey, and they too went through personal change, and di ba parang pare-pareho kayong nag-grow. So parang when you think about it, those who go through those kinds of situation, they fall apart eh. No, parang ikaw, I think you're naturally drawn to challenges, no? Labada, walang help, ang aga-aga gumising and whatnot. But that really worked for you and for the kids as well. But now, you made mention that your kids are adults now. Has your day structure changed? Or?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, my priorities have changed as well. Because at that time, ang mundo ko umiikot sa mga anak ko. Now, it's me first. So I'm at that age wherein there's still so many things that I wanted to do,
Right.
but I feel like I'm running out of time. I'm turning 54 this month, and so that's kind of a marker for me, a reminder, if you may, that, hey, I probably, if I'm blessed with long life, I would probably be given another decade or two to really give it all I've got. So now I still wake up very early, but my mornings I make sure that I take care of myself first. So taking care of myself would mean 3 times a week I spend an hour in the gym working out with a coach to make sure I build my muscle and my stamina and my core. And the other 3 times of the week I do my laps in the pool, 30 minutes, and I try to increase the number of meters that I do. When I started this whole routine, it was just this year, early this year in January,
right.
and I was struggling to finish 800 meters in 30 minutes. Now my average is 1,000 meters in 35 minutes. Yeah, so that's a good good progress
Sure
for
is.
me. Yeah, and then from there, I take care of everything else. So I've got 3 kids already living in Australia, so only 1 kid left with me, my eldest. And she can take care of herself.
Right.
Obviously, she's already working. She's been working with the same retail company for like 4, going on 5 years. But I still insist on fixing her lunch to bring to work. She would be like, "No, Mom, I've got this covered. No, you go get ready. Let me take care of it for you." And I think to my last breath, I will be mommy to my kids and mommy to my future grandkids, right? It's a lot different now, but the structure is still very much the same.
Right.
It's
still centered around.
Yeah, it's being productive. It's getting things done. I mean, I'm not saying that from Monday to Sunday that's my whole routine. I can't anymore. I'm getting to that age we're in, I get tired easily.
Right.
So there would be mornings that I definitely have to go take a snooze. I call them my power naps, and at a maximum, it's just 15 minutes. Over 15 minutes, I get a headache. 15 minutes is just enough for me. And I do my work. I talk to clients, talk to potential clients, do meetings, help other people in other aspects. Aspects of my business or what I do professionally. So that's just it. Another very important addition that I make sure I've already committed myself to it, is to spend time with the other members of my family.
Right.
So Sunday, either brunch or lunch are spent with my parents, my sister and my brother and their families. And I think, at the end of the day, what is most important for me are my relationships with other people.
Right. And that really, I think we're slowly building that equation, so to speak. We began with personal change that he wanted to, experience. Another thing that you guys will appreciate in this industry is time flexibility. You're not confined to an 8 to 5. You're not confined to, the 4 walls of your office. You can really dictate what your day is like. And us having that flexibility, we're able to fulfill our most important hats, so to speak. And the both of us, another common denominator is that, we're moms.
Are single moms.
Yes. By the way, we talked about that because my kid is also 20 years old. Her youngest is how many more years?
21
right.
years.
So I was asking actually that, as soon as our kids have moved out, we'll just live in together in Nasugbu, in Batangas.
Yeah.
And then we'll just be drinking coffee and drinking wine at night.
Enjoying the sunset.
Yeah. But you guys see what I'm trying to say. It's that I think one of the really great things that I myself do enjoy about this job is that it's there for you it still is waiting for you. You can still do it regardless of what life stage you're in.
Yeah.
And during your younger years, you probably have devoted what, 8-10 hours a day for this work. But as you have said, no, the focus now has shifted back to you. Health is a priority. Trying to center your focus around, you again. That number of hours that you spend with the business probably has, shortened, maybe 6-8 hours, but it still is there for you.
Yeah.
You can still do it. And most importantly, because you have that time flexibility, your relationships, whether it be to your kids, your family, to your clients, it's not compromised. And I think from her story, that's what I appreciate. So we got to see that Janet Nang side and her mom's side. Now let me shift to the other side of Ashley. If you guys have been following her, you know that she's been very active in supporting a lot of charities, a lot of community work. And this is also another thing that we both appreciate in terms of what we do, because we now have a platform for us to really reach out to people and connect people, so that we can really collectively, that personal change, bring it to the community. So why don't you share with our audience right now? You're a socially responsible citizen. Ground us on what does it mean to be socially responsible, and how did that start for you?
Well, like what I mentioned a while ago, having good relationship with people is it's very important for me. And I really believe in leveraging when it comes to relationship. And leveraging might give a very negative connotation to other people, but what I believe in is, in a relationship, it is what value you can bring to the other person's life, and at the same time, what value they can give in your life, and it might not be today. It might be, 10 years down the road,
Right.
or maybe 20 years down the road. You don't know. So you don't burn bridges. You don't burn bridges unless you know that this person is someone you don't really want to work with.
Right.
And I've done that. I've done that. Okay. So I am a very active member of the $1 Million Roundtable. And I believe this was over 10 years ago when Typhoon Haiyan hit the Philippines. The board of trustees of the MDRT Foundation reached out to me and asked how they can bring money into the Philippines to help those affected by Typhoon Haiyan. And at that time, I don't know any non-government, non-profit organization whom I can personally directly reach out to and ask for guidance. So what I did was I went to our church pastor and asked him where I can find these organizations. And coincidentally, our church has a charitable arm, Real Life Foundation, and they directed me to them. Long story short, the MDRT Foundation was able to bring in $60,000 US to help the victims of Typhoon Haiyan through 4 or 5 non-government, non-profit organizations here in the Philippines. Now, after that happened, I realized that, geez, these people have money to give, and our country needs a lot of help. I mean, in a span of 12 months, we would experience like between 20 to 25 typhoons. So we do need that help. And when I did my research, I found out that MDRT Foundation has this worldwide grant program wherein a qualified MDRT member can endorse his or her favorite charitable organization, and they can submit an application. Right. Once approved, they'll be receiving an amount of money from the foundation. So when I realized that, I said, this is how I can help people. I mean, on my own, I'm not filthy rich enough to be able to afford to give out money. I can't afford to be a philanthropist. What I have, which is, it's also what we give back to whoever needs help. What I have a lot of are connections. I know people. Um, I know organizations, and I can connect people to people and organizations to organizations, to whoever needs help. So what I did through MDRT Foundation was I would talk to local NGOs and ask them if they wanted to submit an application to potentially receive a grant. Obviously, they would say yes. However, a qualified MDRT member can endorse a charitable organization only once every 2 years. So what I did was, kasi sayang naman yung nasa-skip na taon.
Right.
So what I did was I would talk to other MDRT members here in the Philippines and tell them about MDRT Foundation and tell them about the local organization that I wanted to support and ask if I can borrow their membership ID number. And obviously they would say yes, and they don't even need to lift a finger.
Right.
I do all the legworks. I do the letter of recommendation. I connect these people, the organization to the organization, and at the end of the day, it's their name on the MDRT website. So that was how it all started, and I realized that what the most valuable thing that I have, connection, is the only thing that I need to be able to help other people. And so we did exactly that. When my youngest daughter Jem turned 14, and she was going through formal voice lessons and guitar lessons, and I, being a stage mom, I asked her teachers if they're planning to come up with a recital for their students. At that time, they can't afford it because some of the students are still not ready for a recital. So again, going back to me being the stage mom and the number one fan, I came up with planned a recital for my daughter. And a friend of mine was telling me, Janet, if you're thinking of coming up with a recital, why don't you hit two birds with one stone? Why don't you come up with a fundraising project for your favorite organization? Immediately, what came to mind was Real Life Foundation, because I support their cause. I really believe that the children today are the future leaders of our country, and if we do not mold them and provide them not only with good education, but also take care of that part wherein they would come up with their own good values and principles, then giving them money just to go through school is really not enough. So I reached out to Hard Rock Cafe GM at that time, and I talked to him about the cause, and he let us use Hard Rock Cafe for free.
Wow.
Yeah. So at the end of the concert, we raised 500,000 pesos.
Oh my gosh.
From sponsors and also from ticket selling to give to Real Life Foundation. So that's an example of leveraging. That's an example of using relationships to help other people.
Right. And to put things in context for everybody that are listening to us right now, leveraging might have like a different meaning, so to speak, but it really is about utilizing resources that may not be available to you, but are available from other people who'd like to participate as well. Actually, said it earlier. We wish we're in that position that we have so much money to give to, to the community, but we don't. we don't have that. But then we can find people who has the resources available, and then we can connect them together. And from your experience, ang dali dun sa mga charitable organizations mag-say yes. It just tells us that they really need funding.
Yeah.
They really need support. Your experience with Typhoon Haiyan and working with MDRT, the MDRT organization too is ready and willing.
Yes.
They just needed somebody, to open, the gates for them, for them to help. Well, after all of that experiences that you had, is it safe to say that this is how you came up with the name of your platform, Bridges-BH?
I guess so. So the backstory there is 6 or 7 years ago, I reached out to a friend of mine. At that time, he was introduced to me by a mutual friend, my graphic designer, Ferds Intal. And we were trying to think of a name for my platform, a brand. So immediately what came to mind was Bridges.
Okay.
And after doing some research, he advised me to think of another name.
Right.
Because when you search Bridges on Google, a lot of organizations and institutions' name would come up. And so I went back to the drawing board and tried to think up of another name, but I can't. I really got stuck with Bridges. So finally we decided to use Bridges-PH. Now the reason why I insisted on using that name, in my business, I believe that when I help my clients, they are the ones who decides on where they are today and where they want to be moving forward, their destination. My role as a financial advisor is to create that bridge for them to cross from point A to point B, B to C, C to D, and so on and so forth. And another crucial part of my role is to help them cross that bridge.
Right.
So that kind of really, the name just got stuck there, and everything else revolved around that name. Yeah.
But then, like what you said, your team was voting against it just because there are very many other organizations that use that name already. So how did you guys overcame that? That when they hear Bridges-BH, it's associated to what you guys are doing versus it being associated with another organization.
I mean, there were a few times in the past wherein our brand name was mistaken for another institution.
Right.
Of course, it did happen a few times in the past, but it's being consistent in believing in why we exist, why we came up with that name, why our team exists, and why we're doing what we're doing. And with the power of technology nowadays, you just share those ideas on social media. What is important there is being consistent with it.
That's good. That's right. So that it resonates to people that it's you. So you guys, it's Bridges-BH. That's Janet now. No, it's not anybody else's. Anyway, she did alluded to this earlier today that as a financial advisor, our role really is to get our clients from here to there. We're that bridge, so to speak, to get them to that side. And I think another thing that I can use to relate that, it's you also being that person. You're the bridge that can get a charitable institution to a position where they have funding, and then on the other side it's these other people who can help them. So I think that really. How long have you been Bridges-BH? 2016. Is that right?
We started in 2016. It was launched then.
Right.
Yeah.
So is there a sort of, and you guys went through different rebranding, right? If I'm not mistaken, colors and all of that.
Yeah, we did a rebranding. I believe it was over a year ago, during our 5th anniversary. We decided to come up with still using the old colors, but coming up with a clearer message through our logo.
Right. But then again, you guys, it's Janet now. So,
And the rebranding doesn't mean that we're doing anything different.
Right.
We still believe in the cause. We still believe, we still work with the same people that we're working with. We still believe in the same morals and values and principles. We still do what we're doing.
Right. Is it fair to say that it's just a look and feel that changed, but
That's
that
right.
the core of it remains the same?
That's right.
Right. And if you guys have been following her journey, it's evident to us, what she does every day and how she does it. And finally, I think in one of her conversations, she shared with us, that she has finally discovered her why. And the reason why I got selected to be the host for this session is because I gave the most genuine reaction. And you guys probably will relate to me because it's like what I said in the beginning. It's something that how would I say this? What would be a fair statement to say? It's something that all of us are asked to do when we begin something, to immediately find your why, center everything around it. But a lot of us didn't really. It's hard for a lot of us. Like in your case, you started with what and how you're doing it, and then now finally, finding your why. So can you share with us how did you find your why, and then how did that change the way your what and your how?
So when Bridges-PH was launched, from that time on, I have been searching for my why. And I always get stuck with my what. Whenever I would write down the statement, it's always my what. I mean, I'm a big fan of Simon Sinek, who wrote Find Your Why, among many other popular books. Rereading his book just got me even more excited about finding my why, but at the same time frustrated that I can't put it into words. The funny thing about my search for my why was it came like 6 years after my brand was launched. It came 6 years after my what and my how was written down.
Right.
So it was just this year. And my why is I envision a world where people would live with peace of mind, knowing that their basic needs are taken care of. And basic needs nowadays is not just water, food, and shelter. Basic needs nowadays is having good relationships, having the confidence, knowing that if I step out that door today, I will be safe. And when I say safe, it's not just physically being safe, it's also emotionally and mentally being safe. Knowing that, every day that I work, I am confident that once I decide to slow down and maybe to retire, I know I can afford it. Healthcare. Knowing that if I get sick, if I go to the hospital or I go see a doctor, I'll be taken care of. All of these are the modern basic needs.
Right.
And the list can go on. That has become my why, and I was so excited when I finally had it written down.
We saw her reaction when she shared with us that she finally figured out, her why. And we were all, I think we were all in awe that, one of us from that group finally found it, because we've always been in like a quest to, to really strive hard and find it. Congratulations to you, Ashley.
Thank you.
Did you guys catch it? Ashley's why? She envisions a world where everybody can have peace of mind because their basic needs are covered. So now let's expand on that. Now their basic needs, which can have different meaning, because basic needs now, it's not just your regular food, shelter, clothing. That has evolved, like what you mentioned, healthcare. So what now? If their basic needs are covered, what does that do to them?
They can do many other things that can help their community and other people.
Right.
again, I go back to saying that for me, relationship is very important. For relationships to grow, there has to be an exchange of values.
True.
What value can I bring to your life, and what value can you bring to my life? And this doesn't, it's not limited to actions. It can be support. It can be, that friendly shoulder when you need one to cry on. It can be, do you want to go out for coffee?
Right.
I just need somebody to talk to, or I just need somebody to share the sunset with. It can be that. It doesn't have to be an immediate exchange of value. It can be me being present in your life at that time when you need it. And maybe, a few years down the road, I might need the same thing or something else, and maybe you're the right person for me to reach out to. So it's that core that I believe that people can try to grow from and create more good relationships, because we are creatures of habits.
True.
Right? And I don't think there's any plan for any one of us to live up in the mountains and be a hermit, live by ourselves.
Or a recluse, maybe.
So, I think that's why I really got excited about writing down this whys, because of relationships. And like what I said earlier, it is one of our basic needs today.
Right. And I think this is also what happened to you, right? See how all of that now comes full circle. All this started because you were having problems with your relationship then, but then now, 15, 20 years down the road, here you are, with healthy relationship with different kinds of people. Most importantly, the healthiest relationship with yourself.
Yes.
But then 15, 20 years, that's a long time for you to figure out your why.
Oh, yeah.
Then you guys, I don't think we should be discouraged, but what would you advise those people who's been so, how would I say, obsessed in finding their why, but then they forget that, their what and how actually leads to that? Or how can one actually, find their why?
I probably would share with you what I went through before I found my why, or I finally wrote down my why, because we're different people. We have different characteristic, upbringing, background, cultural or family wise, and how we go through that search would be very different. For me, I just kept talking to people about it. I get ideas when I bounce thoughts to other people. That's why I talk a lot. So that's how my creative mind works.
Right.
I like to bounce ideas and thoughts to other people and hear what they have to say. And most of the time, it is me hearing my own voice when I bounce those ideas off. So that's what I have been doing since day one. I would talk to anybody. I mean, if the conversation would lead to, and it did in the past, would lead to a disagreement,
of course,
a debate.
Right.
I would just shelf those thoughts. I mean, nothing wrong with going through a healthy debate. Actually, whatever came out of that discussion was, it became very useful for me as well. I would shelf those, and with those that are helpful and I can use immediately, I would use them immediately.
Right.
However, what really got me really serious about putting a deadline to writing down my why was my conversations with MDRT past president Regina Bedoya. So when she stepped down from the executive committee of MDRT. That's when I reached out to her because I saw a common denominator with our life stories when she spoke on main platform when she was stepping down. And I reached out to her and I asked if we can do some video calls. She wasn't as busy with MDRT at that time anymore. And one of the annual meetings, I think it was 2 years ago, or maybe 3 years ago, we had Simon Sinek as one of our main platform speakers. And this was, through a virtual conference.
Right.
And it triggered me again to wanting to write down my why.
Right.
And I told myself, I have to give myself a deadline. If not, I'm never going to have it written down. So those conversations that I had with Regina, she explained to me how I can search for my why. And those few conversations, I gave her some drafts, and she was like, "No, Janet, no, no, go back to the drawing board. No, this is your what. This is your how. This is not your why. This is how you write your why." And a lot of what she was saying came out of Simon Sinek's book as well. I recognize those phrases. I recognize those advices. So finally, I sat down and I looked at what my what and how are. I went back to thinking about what I am so passionate about in my profession. And, and I'd like to repeat this. I mean, in many of our vlogs and blogs and social media materials, we've already shared this. We know that in the Philippines, over 99% of the businesses are categorized as micro, small, and medium enterprises. And over 65% of our working population are employed in these businesses. Now, for us to be able to reach as many people as we can, because we can't do it one by one.
Right.
For us to be able to reach as many people as you can, we can reach out to these small and medium enterprises, talk to the decision makers, win their trust. And once we start a conversation with them and they endorse us to their employees, we can talk to 10, 20, 50, 100 employees at one time and tell them that financial security is possible. And these are the steps that you need to do.
Right.
So do you want to join me in this journey? Let me help you cross that bridge from your point A to your point B, your point B to your point C. Let's partner together with this. So from there, realizing that my what and my how has been there for the longest time, that's how I got to write down my why.
It's just basically putting the pieces of the puzzle together just so you can see the whole picture, right?
And
when did you have this conversation with Regina? How long ago was that?
This was 2 years ago.
And this was just virtual video calls. Well, maybe we should invite her for coffee.
We should.
Wherever that may be. Maybe you can help me too in finding my why, the both of you. Pagtulungan niyo ko, so to speak. All right. So, and then 2 years. So, is that safe to say that that's the deadline that you gave yourself? 2 years to figure out your why?
No, my deadline was, I was hoping that by 50 years old, I would be able to write down my why, but it didn't happen. It didn't happen. And then the pandemic hit us. There were other issues to prioritize, to take care of. Both the business-wise and my family. So I actually went past my deadline.
Okay.
But no regrets. I still got my why written down.
Right. But then that must have been so frustrating, given that I think it's natural for us when we set a deadline for ourselves. And then when we didn't make it, we get so frustrated. So how did you overcome that? And how did you pursue until you finally was able to figure out your why?
Well, that's how passionate I was.
Naturally
With
attracted
this
to challenge. I think that's really is my best description of you.
That's the first time somebody
Right.
referred to that part of my character as. I just kept going
Okay.
because it's I don't know how many more years God will bless me with, but I knew I just have to keep going. I am that stubborn.
Right.
Yeah. A friend once said that, no, Janet, you're not stubborn. You're steadfast. You put something on your plate and you just want to make sure that you get things done. Yeah. I believe that is how I am. I like working with bullets.
Right. We're also like that.
I know. I love working with bullets. I love using spreadsheets. Everything is done through spreadsheets, through an Excel file. But that's how it is. You list things down that you want to get done, and no matter your time frame, the time frame that you gave yourself, you just have to finish that list. Yeah.
Right.
And one of those lists is to discover my why.
Right. But steadfast. I think the definition of that is naturally attracted to challenge. Now that really is you. Let me share with you guys another description that I use in one of our discussion. Actually, Jan has been very comfortable with her age, even her own size and shape. But I'm that kind of person who we want to do positive scripting. So whenever she says that she's old, I'd always refer to her. No, you're the one who's rich in experience.
Yes.
So that just so we can put it in a lighter side,
More
so
pleasant context.
Right.
Yeah.
But now,
and thank you for that.
right. See, can you guys already imagine what our retirement will be like when our kids are all grown? Anyway, now that you have finally figured out your why, I'm sure it has like huge impact on what you do as a financial advisor. What can we expect, as such to change, or how will that change the way you do things now after finally figuring out your why?
Nothing's going to change. I will continue to build relationships with other people and nurture relationships that I already have. I try not to burn bridges unless necessary, and I've said it earlier. I've done it already with certain people, but sometimes it's just being civil with the other person, nothing has changed. Probably, if there is any, it's being selective with the people I want to have relationships with.
Right.
With the people that I want to bring into my personal circle. I want to give time to, I want to, spend time with as well. It's just that because, life is pretty short.
Right.
I want to build relationships with people I know I can care a lot for and who will care about me as well.
Right. It's just really like what you said earlier that, what's the value that you can give to them and then reciprocate that or vice versa and whatnot. I think you're right. Nothing will change, but I think what will change is that you'll be more passionate about it. Now, if that's fair to say, right. And this is now, I think should really inspire all of us, not really pressure all of us. I think a lot of people now have like try to really deviate from that word pressure because it can consume us.
Yes.
But then it probably is now a challenge for us to, look into what we do every day. And maybe we're missing those bullet points. We're really dead set on trying to figure out, write it down, what's our why, without us realizing that what we're doing every day is actually leading us, to our why. So congratulations to you.
Yeah,
actually, for finally, figuring out your why. If you guys want to listen to our conversation around the book, Start With Why, we'll link that in the video
Yes.
as well, or you guys can go to the WMC Book Club, our social media accounts. You guys will see that there.
One of our posts,
right?
yeah.
And then let us know your thoughts about it too.
And if you've discovered your why, please share it
Exactly.
as a comment.
Right. Yeah, these are stories I think that we'd love to hear. Just so this is not something that that just happens every day.
Yeah.
It like what you went through. You went through a whole lot throughout that 15-20 year journey. First, she wanted to join the industry because she was looking for change.
Yeah.
That change has happened, personal change. And then while she was going through that change, she invited her kids to join her in that journey. In essence, her kids also changed.
Yes.
And that change started you to be more open to relationships that are healthier for you. And then when those relationships started to happen for her, that's when leveraging really started to be more prominent, so to speak. You became that bridge for people from this end to this end, and then you connect them. Just so this grand vision of you that everyone will have peace of mind finally happens. Did you guys know that it's actually Achi's birthday today? It's her 54th birthday today. We can proudly say that because I think between us or among our circle, we don't really hide, our ages. We're comfortable around. Except that
Very proud of it.
Yeah, except me. I just always use the word, rich in experience. But much like us, we want everybody to celebrate that too. Not everybody gets to reach the age that you're at right now. So
Old age is a blessing.
Exactly. So every chance that you guys have that you can celebrate your birthday, do not hesitate. Celebrate every day that you guys are on the wake up list.
Yeah.
Be thankful and celebrate. Much like the example of Achi here. So as a closing message, I think I'd like to ask for two. One would be, if you will, can you share with us what your birthday wish is, and what do you plan personally for this other year that's added to you, and then lastly, for us who's still trying to find our why, what would be the best advice that you can give us?
Okay, so short-term goals. I've got a few in my bucket list already. So it is to travel more.
Right.
And when I say travel more, it's not going into grand tours and seeing, beautiful places. It's actually diving deep into the culture of a country, of a people, and getting to know them better. And that all started a couple of months ago when I visited Ho Chi Minh in Vietnam. It was my very first do-it-yourself tour that I went on my own. I mean, I've traveled so many times on my own in the past 15, 16 years that I've been in this industry. But it was the first time that I've traveled alone with no specific agenda at the destination, but to just enjoy my alone time. And that kind of triggered something in me, and it's kind of like, geez, I can do this. I can really do this. As long as I have Wi-Fi, I can go into Google Maps. As long as I can Google the places that I want to visit, it's easy. You fly to one country. So since I've done that already, I am planning on the Camino pilgrimage trek in 2025. Right. So a few years ago, I had troubles with my knees. And to the point wherein I can't walk. Wear and tear. That's the consequence of getting old. And if you're not taking care of yourself. So the doctor that I went to see at that time told me that there's no cure for it, that there's no medicine for it, that I will be forever relying on painkillers, and I can't go back to the many activities that I had at that time. I was going to the gym. I was part of a dragon boat team, and I just couldn't accept that. So I never went back to see that doctor. And I did my own research. I asked people, I went to see a chiropractor, a physical therapist. I went back to working out with my coach from a few years ago. And finally, somebody told me about PRP, protein rich plasma injections. So 2 months ago, I had that. And now I'm going back to the gym, strengthening my legs, my core, my leg muscles, and trying to be back in shape so that I can do what I really want to go back to doing, which is training for dragon boat paddling. I may not be able to compete in those big races anymore, but just paddling with the other team members is good enough for me. I just wanted to go back there. I also want to finish my very first Spartan race. And my rehab doctor said that's my goal for 2025. And 2025, I've also pinned my pilgrimage trek there. Now, the long-term goal. I mean, why am I doing this? Why do I go to the gym 3 times a day? Why do I spend 30 minutes getting tired doing laps in the pool when I can just take another 30 minutes to an hour snooze, right? If God will bless me with a long life, I would like to live it to the fullest. Quality living, surrounded by the people who matter to me the most. That is my long-term goal.
And that's nice. And I think, just like what you said earlier, anchored to your why of envisioning people to have peace of mind because their basic needs are covered so that they can do more. I think it's basically what's happening to you now.
Yes.
You went to Vietnam, you did have an itinerary, but then you had time.
Yeah.
You weren't really rushing through going to this and that and eating very quickly, not enjoying everything because you didn't have time. But because now that you have time, you're able to do a lot of these things. So that's really good for you. So I think mine and probably collectively everybody's wish for you is that you be given more time.
Thank you.
No, and in that time, build more healthier relationships.
Yes.
And I agree with you, to people who deserve you, to people who matter to you. And in return, we can also form relationships or help build relationships of other people, just so we can have a more connected world where we can really impact our lives positively.
Yeah. And all of this is actually intertwined with each other.
Great.
I work out. I take care of myself physically, spiritually, and mentally and emotionally, so that I am fit to help other people, so that I can deliver what I promise to my clients, to my family, to my friends, and bring that bridge for them.
That's true.
And you were asking about, an advice that I can leave with our viewers and maybe with you. And you've heard this before. I'll just repeat it.
I will never get tired listening to it.
All of us have limited time in this world,
right?
And each of us, we are given just one plate. How we want to fill up that plate and what we want to fill it up with is really up to us. Now, you fill it to the brim and you only have 24 hours a day and other responsibilities to do. Do you think you'll be able to finish everything on your plate? So what would be more effective? To fill it with so many things and try to fit everything in your 24 hours, or to fill it up with what you think is most important for you, especially at that time, and have enough time to finish everything on your plate and to take care of yourself as well.
Right.
And so I hope that would help you.
Right. Ouch, ouch. I'm listening. Just kidding, just kidding.
And will also help our followers and viewers listening to us in moving forward with what they have right now. It's never too late. Even if you're at my age, in your 50s or maybe in your 60s or 70s or older, and you would want to make some changes in your lives, you still can, because God has given you the gift of time.
Right, right. And with that said, again, thank you for, it's such an honor to actually be in this kind of setup. You guys, we chit chat every day across different platforms.
And then we have group chats as well.
But then I think, to see you in this light, and again, to listen to your journey of how you found your why, that remains to be a very inspiring story for me. And I think for everybody who's heard it, when you first shared it with us, congratulations to you, Achi. We're very proud. Happy birthday to you as well. To more birthdays.
Yes.
Celebrate with us too. And with that, I'd like to close this session of ours. It really creates a huge difference once we've found our why. Now, you are able to reach your full potential. You become a truly inspired individual, just like actually Janet Nang. And with that, thank you guys for watching. Again, let me invite you, if you'd like to listen to our conversation as a group, when we discuss about Start With Why, we'll link that in here. Let us know your thought and your feedback as well. Same time, if you guys have any comments or feedback about this conversation, please let us know. We're open to that as well. In closing, to echo what actually Janet just said, you guys, we only get one life. So do not just exist, but live, and live boldly. Finding your why may be a personal journey, but then it is also in balancing off ideas one another, in building those relationships that you get to figure out your why. So do not burn bridges, because you guys, we are inextricably connected. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you again next time. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.